Right now, there is a fish swimming half a mile beneath the ocean surface, and you can see straight through its head. Not a metaphor, not an exaggeration. Its skull is completely transparent. You can see its brain, its nerves, and two glowing green orbs floating inside its forehead like something designed in a science fiction laboratory. This is the Bali fish, and it is the only animal on the planet with a fully see-through head. What evolution did to this creature will leave you speechless. The Bali fish goes by the scientific name Macropinna microstoma, and it belongs to a family of deep-sea fish called Opisthopteroctidae. It was first described in 1939 by a marine biologist named W.M. Chapman, who pulled specimens from the deep temperate waters of the Pacific Ocean. But here is the problem. For decades, scientists had absolutely no idea what this fish actually looked like alive. Every single specimen they pulled up in their nets arrived at the surface destroyed. The most extraordinary feature of the Bali, its transparent fluid-filled dome, was so incredibly fragile that it shattered every time the fish was hauled up from the deep. So for almost 70 years, every scientific drawing of this fish was wrong. Nobody knew the head was see-through because they had never seen one intact. That all changed in 2004 when researchers at the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, known as MBARI, finally captured the first ever photographs of a living Bali fish in its natural habitat off the coast of Central California. They used a remotely operated vehicle called Ventana and sent it plunging down into the pitch-black waters of Monterey Canyon. At depths between 2,000 and 2,600 feet, the cameras found this tiny 6-inch fish just hovering motionless in the darkness. And for the first time in history, scientists could see the transparent dome perfectly intact with two enormous green tubular eyes sitting inside it, pointing straight up through the top of its head. The entire scientific community was stunned. But wait, it gets even crazier. For decades, everyone assumed this fish could only look upward. Its eyes appeared to be locked in a permanent upward stare, which created a massive paradox. If it can only see above its head, how does it eat when its tiny mouth is pointing forward? That question haunted marine biologists for years. Then, in 2008, researchers Bruce Robeson and Kim Reisenbichler from MBARI finally cracked the mystery. They were incredibly lucky. They managed to bring a net-caught Bali to the surface alive, and it survived for several hours in a shipboard aquarium. In that controlled environment, they watched in disbelief as the fish rotated its tubular eyes from pointing upward to pointing completely forward. The eyes were not fixed at all. They could pivot freely inside that transparent dome. This single discovery solved a puzzle that had baffled scientists for nearly 70 years. Now let me explain what those eyes actually are, because they are unlike anything else in the animal kingdom. When you first look at a Bali fish, you think you see two small dark eyes sitting above its mouth, like any normal fish. But those are not its eyes. Those two dark spots are actually olfactory organs called nares, which are basically the fish equivalent of nostrils used for smelling. The real eyes are the two massive bright green spheres sitting deep inside the transparent head pointing upward through the dome. Each eye is shaped like a barrel or a tube, which is exactly where the name barrel eye comes from. Those tubular eyes are packed with an exceptionally high number of rod cells in the retina, which are the photoreceptor cells responsible for detecting light in low conditions. There are no cone cells at all, which means this fish sees no color. It does not need color. Down in the twilight zone of the ocean, the only thing that matters is detecting the faintest glimmer of light and distinguishing it from total darkness. And those green lenses are not just for show. The green pigment acts as a sophisticated light filter. At the depths where the Bali lives, there is still the tiniest trace of sunlight filtering down from the surface above. Many deep-sea creatures have evolved bioluminescent organs on their bellies that glow to match that faint downwelling light, effectively erasing their own shadows so predators below cannot see them. It is one of the cleverest camouflage tricks in the ocean. But the Bali has evolved a counter-weapon. The green filter in its lenses can distinguish between the natural sunlight coming from above and the slightly different spectrum of bioluminescent light produced by those camouflaged creatures. In other words, the Bali can see through the disguise. It can spot a glowing animal trying to hide against the light above when almost no other predator at that depth can. Now here is where the story of this fish becomes truly extraordinary. The Bali does not chase its food. It is not a fast, aggressive hunter. It is the opposite. It spends most of its life hanging completely motionless in the water column, using its large flat fins to hover in place like a tiny deep-sea helicopter. Its body stays horizontal, and its eyes stare straight up, scanning the faint light above for the silhouettes of potential prey. It is the ultimate ambush predator of the Twilight Zone. Minimum energy, maximum patience. In an environment where food is incredibly scarce and every calorie counts, this strategy is the difference between survival and starvation. But what it eats and how it eats is where things get truly insane. The Bali shares its deep-sea world with enormous creatures called siphonophores. These are colonial jellyfish-like organisms that can grow over 33 feet long, trailing thousands of stinging tentacles through the water like a living drift net. Those tentacles capture tiny crustaceans, copepods, and other small animals, and the Bali has figured out how to exploit this. Scientists believe the Bali carefully positions itself directly beneath these giant siphonophores and uses its upward-pointing eyes to spot the small crustaceans trapped in the stinging tentacles above. Then it slowly rises into the danger zone, navigating between those deadly tentacles, and picks off the captured prey with its tiny pointed mouth. It is literally stealing food from one of the most dangerous organisms in the deep sea. Scientists call this kleptoparasitism, which means one animal stealing food that another animal caught. The transparent dome is not just a window for better vision, it is a shield. It protects the Bali's incredibly sensitive eyes from the stinging cells of the siphonophore while it raids the tentacles for dinner. And if you think this fish is common, think again. Despite decades of deep-sea exploration, this animal is almost never seen. MBARI has conducted over 5,600 successful dives with their remotely operated vehicles, logging more than 27,600 hours of video footage in the deep waters off California. In all of that time, across all of those thousands of hours, they have encountered the Bali fish only 9 times. 9 times. That makes it one of the rarest sightings in all of deep-sea research. The most recent confirmed sighting happened on December 1, 2021, when aquarist Tommy Knowles and his team were aboard the research vessel Rachel Carson using ROV Ventana to collect jellyfish for the Monterey Bay Aquariums into the deep exhibition. They spotted a Bali drifting in the darkness at about 2,132 feet, and the entire control room erupted with excitement. The team stopped everything just to watch it before it slowly swam away and disappeared back into the black. The Bali has also been found across a vast stretch of the Pacific Ocean from the Bering Sea near Alaska all the way down to Japan and Baja California in Mexico. But we know almost nothing about its population size. One MBARI senior scientist admitted that we have no real handle on how many are out there except in a relative sense. We do not know how they find mates in the endless darkness. We do not know the details of their reproduction beyond the assumption that they are pelagic spawners releasing eggs and sperm into the water column, where the fertilized eggs float near the surface before the larvae eventually descend into the deep as they mature. We do not know how long they live. We do not even know if they have predators or what those predators might be. What we do know is that this fish has been perfecting its design for millions of years. Fossil evidence traces the Bali lineage back to the Miocene epoch, with similar tubular eye features preserved in ancient fossil species. That means this transparent head and these rotating periscope eyes are not some recent fluke of evolution. They are ancient traits that have been fine-tuned over an unimaginable span of time, specifically for life in the darkest layer of the ocean. Every feature of the Bali, from its hovering fins, to its green-filtered lenses, to its see-through dome, is the product of millions of years of relentless natural selection in a world humans can barely even visit. And here is the thing that really puts it all in perspective. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, more than 80% of our ocean has never been explored. A study from 2011 estimated that up to 91% of ocean species remain completely undiscovered. About 2,000 new marine species are added to the scientific record every single year. The Bali fish was described almost 90 years ago, and we still barely understand it. Imagine what else is down there. Imagine what other impossible creatures are drifting silently in the black water miles below the surface waiting to be found. The Bali fish is proof that evolution has no limits. When the challenge is, seeing in a world with almost no light, nature did not just build a better eye. It built a completely transparent skull, turned the eyes into rotating periscopes, added a green filter to crack enemy camouflage, and wraps the whole thing in a fluid-filled shield, tough enough to withstand jellyfish stings. No engineer on Earth has ever designed anything this elegant. The deep sea did it on its own, in silence, in darkness, over millions of years, and the Bali just keeps hovering down there, eyes glowing green, staring upward through its own head, watching and waiting in a world we are only beginning to understand.